window, you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, guys, so today is day one of a 3 days boot camp. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Let me know if you can't. Just put the chat window. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So brilliant. Let me start my share my screen here. And if you're watching this as a replay, those of you who are watching this as a replay, please make sure that you fast forward or play in 2x, 1.5x, or is my screen visible? And it's not. Let me make it full screen as well. Can someone confirm that? Yes, you can see. Yes, yes, yes. Brilliant. I hope I'm still loud and clear. Let me minimize this. Okay, brilliant. Let's begin without spending. I have a lot to cover. So hi, everyone. Today is day one of a 3 days boot camp. Guys, can someone confirm? Are we live at my team? Confirm. Are we live at YouTube as well or just here? And it's okay. Put in the chat window someone from my team or unmute yourself and let me know. Otherwise, we'll skip this part. Or let's skip. Okay, let me begin. So sorry, guys. I just said today is a day one of a 3 days boot camp. We are doing mastering multi-cloud, DevOps, data and AI, everything that I've learned in the last 24 years, 25th, more than or close to 2.5 decades of my IT experience. I'm going to sum it up here. I speak very fast. So if I go fast, let me know, slow me down also. So we're going to look at how to build these in-demand skills and land a high-paying job, even as a beginner with no experience in IT, or if you have an IT experience, but not an experience in cloud, DevOps, data, AI, how do you get a job without coding knowledge as well? So as I said, today is day one, today is 21st of December, 2024. So last couple of days before we go on holidays. And then next year, so we prep and we get ready for 2025 so that to make it the best year ever. What we have learned in last 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years, I'm going to sum it up here today. Day two is going to be on 23rd of, which is I think Monday, and on 27th, which I think is Friday, if I'm not wrong, before we go on holidays, close for this year. Last session will be on 27th, which is about DevOps, MLOps, and I'm going to sum up everything here. If you're coming first time, if watching this as a replay, don't forget to register by going to k1academy.com/bootcamp. All those you think, see, you probably I'm going to cover here as well. Now, before we go, I want this session to be very, very interactive. For those of you attending my sessions, you know, even though I'm teaching and you're here to learn, you're muted from our side, but the chat should be open. Make sure to stay attentive and let me know which country you are tuning in. I'm based in UK, London, and I just want to know, it's for me, it's a little bit going to be started dark. It's going to be started raining or drizzling. So let me know which country you are from so I can see. So Manohar, US, Chicago. Hamid is from USA. India, Shadesh. Great. Put in the chat window, guys, which place you are. And I want to know Gambia. Where is Gambia? Is it South Africa or Africa? Which part of Ethiopia? TH. I don't know what it's TH. India, USA, Hyderabad, India. I've been studied in IIIT Hyderabad and Dubai. Nice. Okay, anyone from UK? Because I'm not, okay, well, Hemanta, brilliant. UK, which part of UK? Tamil Nadu in India, Gambia, Africa, okay. USA, Canada, UK, another UK Sumit. Ved, nice. London, I'm based in London as well. Brilliant. So it's okay. So let's with that. Let's begin and keep posting on to me. The guys, the make session. If you really want to, next 90 minutes to roughly around 2 hours, anything between 90 minutes to 2 hours, going to be very very action, a lot of learning. I'm going to cover. So make sure that you stay attentive and let me know. Also, there's a way you can achieve some or win some amazing prizes. So you should have received, if not, if you've registered, you should receive an email. If not, go and check your email. I think it's most probably going to come from contact@k1academy.com. Check out. There should be an email subject line, claim your gift. And what happens is we are giving some the practice papers or some exam dumps or some certification questions or some basically interview questions and a few other goodies as well. Just click on I want to refer this. And when you refer, share this about this, spread the word. It's absolutely free. 3 days are going to be very, very action packed. You will see a lot of value coming. Share it so that you automatically add it into and win some amazing prizes as well. So that's number one. Now, this is overall, we are going to cover some of these things I've covered in the past. So I'm not going to repeat that, but I'll give you where you can go and watch the basic other things which will help you to complement what I'm going to cover today. So we mentioned on earlier, and I'll give you the link in a minute here, but overall, we are going to look at ultimate aim is for you to have a overall good knowledge about in IT and within IT, specifically AI, machine learning, data part, and then cloud and multi-cloud that we see AWS or Azure or more than one cloud. And then on right-hand side, you see ML ops, AI ops, DevOps as well. So this is where over next 3 days in the boot camp, we're going to cover all this here. Today, I'm going to focus on this part, which is Amazon AWS that you see. This is where we're going to focus attentively as well. Now, as I said, if you have not watched that, how many of you guys attended? I think it happened on 12th or 13th of December. I had a class on which was about this, about mastering and give the base about why you should be learning AI, data, DevOps, multi-cloud. And I gave a lot of those content, which is available in the free community. If you go to k1academy.com/free community, someone from my team, if you can post that link in the chat window. And if you go on that, this is absolutely free community. You need to register by entering your name and email address. If you're already part of that, you go, once you've logged in, you go to the classroom, and under classroom, the second class will be about this. So make sure that you watch that, because that will complement what I'm going to cover today. It'll be complemented by that. Don't do it now. Do it after the class, but make a note of this, that you have to take an action on this particular part. So someone of my team who's there, if you can post this in the chat window as well, k1academy.com/free community, you need to go to the classroom as well. Now, this is what we covered earlier on that class, which is about why you must learn AI, data, DevOps, multi-cloud, which we are going to go deeper in today on this part. So, so that's important, which is important to know why. Big changes that are coming, what are the job opportunities and how to search and apply. Also, what kind of a salaries you can expect, what are the certifications that are available. And today we are going to go in deep about all the AWS related certification, whether it's developer, administrator, DevOps, architect, security, AI, machine learning, all those things as well. Also, I covered 12 myths. So if you're applying for the interview calls, not getting interview calls, if you are not getting job, or like if not able to clear the interview, or you think, oh, I have a career gap, I'm a beginner, I don't know what to do and how to study, all those things I've covered in that 12 myths. Make sure you watch that. Also, I gave the 3-step framework. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that today, as well as something which I mentioned about. So go and watch that particular part as well. How many of you guys attended this? Just let me know, that put in the chat window. How many of you guys attended this particular part? Put in the chat window and say yes, did or not did. Attended or not. So A for attended, N for not attended. So not attended, no, no. A attended, John attended, no. A couple of not attended. Okay, brilliant. Yeah, so guys, do it after the class. That means some of you guys are new here. That's totally fine. Go and do it after the class as well. Okay. Now, in that class, I gave this about like how you get a job and properly, if you're struggling to get a job, or if you already have a job but want to earn a lot more than what you're doing. I mentioned about this job accelerator, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, including 3-step framework and this whole personalized roadmap. Some of you guys, which I'll be talking about towards and as well, about this whole personalized roadmap as well. Now, today, towards end, we be accepting. So we announced this on, I think, 12th of December, and within 3 days, we filled. We only had a limited seats. So our January slot is full, but we'll be opening for the February slot. But we'll talk about that towards end. It's only for a handful of, not for everyone. It's for only selective, more advanced one-to-one mentorship with me, directly with me, and my team will be talking about that as well towards end, and as I said. Now, what to expect today? On the next 3 days today and over the next 3 days, this is what I'm going to cover. So as I said, today we are going to cover everything with respect to AWS Cloud. And I want you to be getting involved and tell me whether you're playing the role or what exactly kind of a job you're looking for. Are you looking for an architect? Type in the chat window so I can focus when I'm talking that today. I'm going to go more towards architect line. Or if you're an administrator or cloud engineer, or you're a developer or security, DevOps, data, AI, which one you want to go, so I can look at and say, I can go on, double down on those particular parts. So I can see a couple of solution architect, DevOps. I'll put in the chat window. I'm going to wait for a minute to see, because I'm going to shape and go focus, because today I have all the parts and I'll probably might bring some of those other parts as well. Administrator, put in the chat window on DevOps, developer, DevOps, a lot of DevOps. Okay, so I probably solution architect and DevOps, and I might include maybe on day 2. I should have guessed that. On architect side, I'm going to go more deeper on architect side as well. Okay, brilliant. But there are a lot of DevOps. Wow. Okay. So by the way, day 3 also, we are going to go DevOps much deeper, but I'm going to bring today enough about DevOps here today. I have a lot of content about DevOps. DBA, data engineering is there. Yes. Solution architect, brilliant. Yes. So we're going to cover all of those as well. Brilliant. So what I'm going to do is, in terms of learning path, hands-on labs, the project work, both for certification as well as for job. This is the agenda we're going to go. So I'll go with a high level overview of how many are new to absolutely new to AWS or have some familiarity. And again, based on that, we'll go deeper on that particular report. So Osman is saying I'm completely new. Sumit is saying completely new. How many are new? Basics, no, new. Okay, a lot of guys are new. So I'll probably go slow. If I go fast, something is not clear, please highlight. And on the free community, which I'll tell you, there is a lot more content from a beginner-friendly content as well. So a lot of free. Sudesh, if you're advanced, just let me know. Skip that part or the beginner part. Please bear with us on the beginner part if you're already familiar, but you'll still get tons and tons of value. Trust me, believe me, you will have a lot of interesting things that are coming. We'll also look at the complete roadmap, right from beginner, right, learning from fundamentals, so identity and access management. This whole path I'm going to give you so that you can plug and play, you can copy it and follow this structure that I've mentioned. Also, I'm going to give you some of the different roles and what are the associated certifications you might want to do. Now, again, you don't have to do it in this particular order. Other thing with beauty with the certification is you can go in any order and you can apply for any certification. I went directly with AWS Solution Architect, but some people prefer going for beginner level. Some people go directly to that particular directly. Some people go directly for DevOps. A lot of you guys are looking for DevOps, or someone say, hey, I want to do this first or do that first. That's also possible, doable technically, but there are some recommendations which are available. Now, a lot of guys had said architect or solution architect. Today, I'm going to talk about is AWS Solution Architect, but then on tomorrow, or which is day two, not tomorrow, but on Monday, we're going to talk about is Azure, Microsoft Azure Solution Architect. That's where we're going to focus. Then we're going to also look at administrator or operations, system administrator, cloud engineer, administrator. That's how I started my career as a database. I started my career as a database administrator, but I was doing a lot of sysadmins part as well in 2001 when I started. Okay, we are also looking at a lot of you guys are here for DevOps, so we're going to go today and day 3, which is 27th. We're going to go very, very deep into DevOps. A lot of things on DevOps, but enough for today from cloud DevOps point of view. We'll also look at some of you guys are from data background. As I said, I started my career as an Oracle database administrator and then moved into security and to the data architect, data on cloud, data engineering, DevOps, multi-cloud, and so on. So data, we'll be talking a lot about data as well today here. Also, AI, machine learning, generative AI, hugely in demand, hugely popular. We'll talk about that path as well. We'll also look at how to look for the jobs when you're going and searching for the jobs. Some of those things which I mentioned about in prerequisite on day 1, which I said earlier, go and watch. I mentioned about how to look for the jobs as well. So when you're looking, you probably might to look for jobs as someone else saying DevOps. There are plenty of DevOps job available. So how do you search for those DevOps job as well? Am I going okay? Am I going fast or am I going slow? Or is it the pace is right and you're able to understand it? Subbu is saying I'm in cyber. So Subbu, if you are in cyber security, I'm assuming you should be moving and looking for cloud security, AWS security. So that we are going to cover today as well. So stay tuned. Am I going at the right pace, guys? Is it all okay? Am I going right pace or I'm going fast? I hope perfect. Yep, fast. Okay, now. So I'm Mohammed. I'm right now. I'm just giving an overview and then I'm going to go and deeper slow, little bit slow if possible. Sure. Right now I said I'm giving a glimpse of what you can expect and then I'll go slow. But if I go fast, let me know. Okay, thanks for highlighting. Okay, I'll also look at like basically most important is if you're going for a job and just applying for the job is not enough. You have to go and look and find out who the person is who's appearing or applying for the jobs and how do you reach out to those individuals on LinkedIn, because it's very, very important, and I will explain you the reason a little bit later. We'll also use how to use AI or chat GPT for job search, right from reaching out to the individuals to preparing a resume to preparing what all hands-on lab we should be doing. All those things we are going to cover here. Now, as I said, if you want to go deeper on what I've covered today or what I'm going to cover today, there'll be a lot of complimentary content available free on the free community, which is you go to the join this community, go to the classroom, and under FAQ section, I think it will be third row FAQ section. I've covered about AI, data, multi-cloud. In that, I've covered different roles available. What are the different type of job roles available? How do you prepare for those job roles so that whatever I'm talking about here will complement that particular part. So for example, for multi-cloud, we have AWS. So what all things, these are core things. Of course, you need to go much deeper into those. So what is EC2s and S3s and Lambdas and VPC and some of those things we're going to cover, similar to for Azure, Google Cloud, Oracle Cloud as well. We'll also tell you the 100 plus hands-on lab because we learn by doing hands-on labs. So we'll be covering these hands-on labs as well, including the certifications, what these certifications are, all those things, including project work. That is what we are going to cover today. So there's a lot to cover, and I only have limited time, trying to wrap it up in 90 minutes. If not, probably might add to another 30 more minutes. So 2 hours definitely will lock it down. So day 2 is going to be all about Azure, and whatever we have covered for AWS today, we'll go and do the same thing for the second important cloud, which is Microsoft Azure from Microsoft. So same path, certifications, hands-on labs, project work, whole step. And day 3, which is the final day, I'll wrap up and bring everything together. For ML, it should be not MI, it should be ML, machine learning and DevOps. Okay. So that is where we're going to cover things like Git, Jenkins, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes, Prometheus, Grafana, Helm, CI/CD, and DevOps. Some of the DevOps we are going to cover today, which is DevOps on Microsoft Azure Cloud. So day 3. So huge, juicy content over the next 3-4 days as well. So this is some of these tools, what they do, why you need to do, and the whole process about DevOps, CI/CD, which and including MLOps now, we'll be covering that on 27th of. So these are the more advanced tools now for containers, Kubernetes, GitOps, Argo CD, and so on, Prometheus, Grafana, and some of the DevOps related certifications that are available in the market. You don't need to do all of them. This is something we provide, leverage and use some of these certifications that I say. Also, as I said, if you want to go deeper into on this, which I've covered on DevOps, what all things you should be doing, whole path, which is about DevOps, MLOps, I've covered on this particular classroom as well, including projects. So this is my promise. By end of these 3 days, which should be more than 6-7 hours of content, useful content, and understand, you will have full clarity on how to get certified and get a high-paying job in AI, data, DevOps, MLOps, multi-cloud, even as a beginner with no experience. But then for that, you have to be attentive, you have to take action, you have to go and follow up and study the supporting content as well. So just give me and say type P, word promise that you're going to follow this and you're going to stick to this and maybe do a little bit more homework, which I'm going to assign to you as well. So P, thank you very much, Rahul. Kiran, Karan, just guys, put in the chat window. As I said, I want you to be stay attentive and I want to say 100% focus here because next 90 minutes or 2 hours that you see could be lots of, and I want 100% commitment from your side as well. P, promise. Thanks. Okay, thank you. So as I said, this whole 3 days are absolutely free, but then only a handful of selective of you guys I'll be opening up and talking about a accelerator program we recently announced. I announced on 12th of December first time. Till that we have like the group coachings, but this is more personal, which I'm doing something. I'm picking up, handpicking 4 or 5 guys. So we filled our January slot within I think 3 days. We'll be opening up again on this. I'll be talking about that towards end. We'll be working closely with me on this entire 1-year journey to make at least $40 to $50,000 or pounds or lakhs or rupees, whatever country you are, to earn that much extra. So this is not for everyone, only for a handful of that. We'll be talking about the 3-step framework towards and about this. Now, the frameworks which are mentioned have been tried and trusted. It's been coming from experts or other guys similar to you who have achieved what a lot of you guys are trying to achieve as well, which again we'll be talking about towards end in terms of like Kennedy followed the same steps which I've done, and he been offer accepted here in the UK, smashed a file and interview, offer accepted as a senior technical advisor. And the reason I'm telling you is that because when I tell these things, a lot of guys, especially who are coming with a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of things they've tried and tested have not worked. It's very difficult for them to believe those things. And that's why I want to show them that whatever you're going to follow in next 2-3 days, it works. And if you follow that path I'm going to give, it'll work for you as well. Another one here for SJ from US. It works. Keep faith. My husband got a new job. Her husband got a new job. And as well as she doubled her salary, going from $85,000 to I think in excess of $175,000 in US. So another one here. These are all the screenshots from our group inside the mastermind, inside the community that you see. Shovik, working as a 12-month contract in Bank of America as a senior enterprise architect as a financial service as well. So this is something which I said tried and tested of you. And now, before we go forward and tell and explain you, I just wanted to quickly explain why I'm qualified to say what I'm saying here as well. Now, just a quick check, and based on that, I'll tell you and explain you. How many of you guys have heard of me first time? Are you new, or this is first time? Depending on, I'll speak and say, just put in the chat window, new, or you've heard me again. So how many of you guys are new, first time here? New? Just put in the chat window how many of you new. Well, I'll take a sip of water. Anyone who's attended past, who's attended any of the sessions past? Okay, but wow, a lot of new, lot of. So I'll quickly cover that. I have total. This is man. I'm not going to spend a lot of time onto this, but I have total more than 2 decades, 2.5, or close to 2.5 decades of IT experience. I started with my journey back in 2000. First 4 years have been very, very, very tough for me. But then I moved to UK, and I've been constantly learning new things. And growing, and every couple of years I've been learning, and right from Oracle, from a database administrator to security to architect, and all those things I will be talking. So this is whatever you're coming is coming from a real experience that you see. These are some of the clients I've worked across the globe, right from Royal Bank of Scotland here in UK to International Computing Club Center in Switzerland, to Dataville in US, Hexaware in US, Atradius in Netherlands, WorldPay in UK, Saudi Railways, Scottish Government, Tucson Electric Powers, Toyota in Brussels, Pepperdine in US. So I've width of experience, and but as I said, this is not how I started. My first, this is I've grown from earning less than $100 a month back in 2000, 2001 till I think in fact till 2003, 4. But then my first break came in 2004, 2005, I moved to UK, and a friend and like a colleague of mine who was working as a contractor, and I saw he was making £550 a day. I realized I can do something like that, and there's no looking back since then. It's like I worked on a 425 a day, 425 pounds a day, sorry, to 500, 700, 900 pound a day. Now I work in excess of £1,000 a day. The reason I'm telling you all this is it sounds unbelievable, or at least when I started, I couldn't believe that I could earn. When I look back now, I never thought it's possible. So I want to give this opportunity to some of you guys are saying that whatever I'm talking here is you can do as well. And if you just follow what I'm going to give you here. So please believe and trust and have confidence on you that it'll happen as well. Now, on that journey, I made a couple of mistakes. First mistake was back here on the first 9, 10 months. I'm not going to cover that today, but if any was interested, maybe I'll do sometime later in future. Second mistake I made was somewhere in 2011, 12. And there are 2 times where the big costed me lots and lots of money. And as I said, probably we'll cover some other time onto this. But this is where I learned my first break on Oracle Identity Access Management. This is where I learned cloud back in 2011, 12. I started learning on cloud DevOps. 2018, 19, I started learning on multi-cloud. And last 3, 4 years have been machine learning, AI, as industry is moving generative AI, and all that all journey data. So whatever you're seeing here is coming from real experience. These are some of salary slips or contract work roles that you see on here on the screenshot as well. And I'm sure this is what whole thing I started coming back to the circle, big circle. I dreamt of having a dream life of having working, where to work, when to work, what to work, and who to work with. This is the 4 Ws. My coach, I have a coach been last 3, 4 years, and that's what I'm aiming towards, been achieving last 5, 6 years, been doing as well. And it's totally possible. So this is, and all this because when I was like back in 2012, 13, I had my daughter who's now 16. She's beautiful daughter now. She's going for university. She wanted to me to work, stay more closer to home because I was traveling a lot, and I was doing a lot of contracting, freelancing. I was traveling a lot. I hated that life, even though it was a lot of money. I hated life. And 2017 is 18, I started pivoting and moving towards to work on these principles. I think I've successfully achieved now. I take multiple holidays, multiple stay, work from home, multiple clients, big clients, I think. And just wanted to show you that everything's possible. And if you stick and follow the plan, it's simple, easy to follow, as long as you stick to that plan as well. So which without spending more time as well. As I said, now when I talk about all these things, people say, hey, it worked for you, it may not work for us. And I heard these things from a mentor and coach of mine, and I had those limiting beliefs as well. So just wanted to assure you that whatever I'm going to say, and give you. It hasn't just worked for me. The methods which I'm going to talk about here is worked almost every job all over the world. And whatever your background might be, maybe you are someone from a not from IT background. How many of you guys just put in the chat window and you think, oh, I'm not from IT background and I can't do that, or have some limit of limiting belief as well? Anyone who's here not from IT background and had to go, or will I be able to get a job, or whatever your limiting beliefs are? And again, don't be shy, because I thought probably when I was starting my journey, I didn't realize that, hey, I'm not a programmer coder, I can't get a job. And trust me, till that I have no coding, and still I'm surviving here as well. I will do it. Yes, that's a spirit of the Boomer. So whatever is your background, it's going to, the process which I'm going to share here is going to work, whether you are not from IT background. I'll work like Tolu, not from IT background, to getting job, or you have a career gap. Now, uh, put in the chat window, let me know. I'll cover these questions towards end, so that I'll take probably 10-15 minutes of, if you are struggling those things, so that I can tell you what other people like you have done it. So like Meghna, who have a career gap, or like Irina, no coding background. So there are a lot of jobs available that doesn't require any coding. So like, for example, administrator, they don't need coding. Architect doesn't require coding. There are a lot of data management related roles that doesn't require coding. There are a lot of sales and marketing jobs that doesn't require coding. So there are tons and tons of jobs that doesn't require coding or programming. I'm one of them who doesn't know the coding and programming. Or if you're applying for the interviews, not getting interview calls, I'll give you some tips today on how you reach out to, and if you're applying for the interviews and not getting interview calls, what you should be doing. Again, go and watch on thing. I've covered some of these things on day one, or the not day one, today's day one, on the prerequisite section, which I mentioned, explained about what you should be doing. But I'll give you some tips today here if you're applying for the interview calls, what to do. Same thing is, maybe you want to relocate as well. So as I said, not 1, 2, 3. What the process which I'm going to talk about today will be working for, has worked for thousands and thousands, in fact, 45,000 of individuals like you in last 3, 4, 5 years in life. This is 2023 December. With that, let's begin with, and I say, focus this session and let's make this session interactive. This is, I hope you know that it's possible, it's doable, and with that, we are going to begin with this session, which is day one of AWS Cloud, everything that you need to know and become good in AWS Cloud as well. So how many of you guys already know? How many still want to know why you should be learning AWS? Anyone? I'll always explain whatever I cover with why. Why you should be learning what you're learning. So this is, I've again mentioned these. That's why I'm going fast on this. But cloud is growing exponentially. Now, when I started back in 2011-12 in cloud was already there 3-4 years old that time, 2008, and people were saying, oh, it's already growing, like whether I'll be getting a job as well. And 2008, 17, 18 people are still asking the same question. 2019, 2020 people are still asking question. And if you look at it, it's going to grow exponentially. Why? Because AI requires a lot of processing. Data requires a lot of processing, and cloud is the way to run. It's going to grow. And it's growing exponentially, and then it's going to further grow from here, as you see. Now, moreover, you see here is oh, someone is saying, I see Ajmal in the group photo. I know him. Brilliant, Hamid. Good to know. Good to hear as well. So this is cloud, and this is basically the cloud growth. As I said, is the AI, machine learning, everything needs cloud processing. So that's why now within cloud, AWS has been the market leader, more than 30% market share still with AWS. And by in 2023, 13 consecutive years, they are leaders in cloud market as well. So that's why I think I don't need to tell this. Probably some of you guys already know. If not, if you're someone who's new to cloud, AWS the market leader. There are thousands of jobs available in the market as well. Now, some of the jobs, you can become a cloud engineer. You can become solution architect. You can become DevOps engineer. You can become security. So someone is asking about, I'm from a cybersecurity background. You probably might be going on AWS security. If you don't know what your path should be, just give me your background, what you are, and I'll be telling you what might be the right role for you. Another one here is you can work on cloud migration. A lot of on-premise implementation or infrastructure that's migrating to cloud. So you can become a migration specialist. You can do developer, and I'll show you later a bit some of the job available on AWS Cloud. Within as a development, you can be a Java developer developing for on AWS Cloud, or .NET or Python, and so on. Now, also there's something called as cloud native development, which is you're developing specific to cloud so that it can be implemented from one cloud to another cloud. which is containerized applications or Kubernetes. So another one. And again, anyone who's not familiar, and again, anyone, whatever I'm saying, if you're not clear, just ask me so that I can cover those points. You can also, from a cloud sales, a pre-sales, marketing background, and do focus on selling IT infrastructure solutions or cloud solutions to maybe the companies that need infrastructure or the IT solutions. You can also become project manager, program manager as well. Now, put in the chat window, as I said, there's some of you guys mentioned about DevOps, but what role out of these you're going to play? What role you're going to play out of these 8? Which one in the chat window? I take a sip of water. Which job? Okay, IT desktop support. So Hemanta, if you're doing IT desktop support, you probably might want to become a cloud engineer. So you'll be working on whatever you're doing desktop support. Same desktop support will be, so those desktops will be something called as end user computing, if I'm not wrong, if you've heard of EUC, and that's where we're going to be playing. But my suggestion to you will be go more in administration, where you create machines, you create databases, you manage the network, storage, compute, all those things as well. So cloud engineer, yes, brilliant. Unix. So Sachin, again, Unix, again, go for more on a managing containers, Kubernetes, virtual machines, network, storage, all those things you probably start picking up as well. So AWS Cloud Engineer, Bhavit, brilliant, yes. Software developer, Siddesh, yes. So if you're working on software development, developer, good, but also do DevOps part. Cloud Engineer, brilliant. AWS DevOps Engineer, yes. Java developer, brilliant. Security Architect, great, Subbu. Subbu, we are going to cover a lot more about this. M365 Administrator, Salahuddin. So on day 2, we're going to talk about Microsoft Azure Cloud. Also, don't limit yourself just M365. Also go and do Azure Entra ID, which is called as Active Directory, security sign-on, and so on. Sandeep, storage and backup architect, brilliant. So do the same thing on AWS Cloud. We'll look at today: storage, EBS, block storage, file storage, object storage, all those things as well. Naga, brilliant. QA, okay. Site lead. So Mohammed, I'm assuming you're talking about is like the entire site. So it could be site reliability engineer, some of the other roles as well. And all those things that you're doing, Geeta, QA, automation, you're doing same thing, but on AWS Cloud or Cloud or DevOps and containers and Kubernetes QA automation engineer role as well. Brilliant. So this is some of the roles we are going to do, and I'm going to talk about these some of the roles a little bit later, or part of the job roles that you do. Now, in terms of salaries, there are huge salaries. Again, I'm not going to repeat, but anyone is looking. If you look at the salaries, it's starting from 35,000 to 200,000, quite common in that range. There are exceptions, there are outliers who are much higher salaries as well. So don't limit it saying this is the only salary that are available. They're extreme, more advanced as well. This is, I'm talking about industry average. Similarly, if you go for UK, in the range of 35,000 to 130,000. Same thing is with you go for Canada, or this is from India. So salary wise, there's no constraint as long as you're good. If you're good, money will automatically follow. So if you're looking for good money, do the good job, money will automatically follow as well. So guys, just from a salary point of view, more than happy to talk about the huge salaries as well, as you do. Now, if you look at it in terms of salaries, this is a screenshot from UK. So 400 to 500 pounds a day. And if you work for 25 days, like probably 11, 12,000 are quite common. Pounds I'm talking about. Multiply by 12, 140, 150,000. If you do another one here, 400, 500, 92K, 700, 780, 800, 850 pounds a day. How many of you guys want 850 pound a day contract rate, which is equivalent to how many $1,000 a day? How many of you guys, and say just type in the me, or what is a good look like to you and the salary point of view? What does a good look like to you, salaries? And how much you believe that you'll be able to do 700, 800? Yeah. So Hamid, so it's possible, people are doing it. And as I said, so when I started, I was very nervous, especially in 2004. When I heard my colleague of mine who was doing 550 pound a day, I was shocked, and I think I can't do it. And it took me almost 3 months or 4 months to convince myself that I can even think of it as well. So a lot of times we don't think, and it's people are doing it. If you look I never ever imagined and never ever thought. Yes, remotely. Yes, say on a remote basis. Saladdin, I'm talking about when I say remotely, as long as you have the working, I'm in excess of 1,000 pounds and I work remotely. I've been hardly to office maybe once in 3 months or once in 2 months, maybe initially first few days, but after that I go and work remotely. So yes, absolutely. Um, okay. Now you'll be surprised, Hemanta. Yes, maybe you'll easily get 300, 400 pounds. Okay, lower side I'm talking about. So you're right, but this is how to begin, Hemanta. But trust me, if you're good, you can achieve that as well. People are getting. Um, okay, so anyway, let me move on. So with that, I think um, I've I've sold you enough on AWS or cloud, or will be seeing more and more. And I'm going to show you some of the success stories of other guys. I don't think I've put in today enough, but I'll show you how they've done. But I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of testimonial of people like you achieving. A lot of guys again say, "Oh, I'm a beginner, I can't do that." Totally wrong, and totally you can achieve as well. Okay. Anyway, so what to learn is this is what we're going to learn, and we'll be starting on from here basics. And this is where I want you to pay attention. If I go fast, let me know, please. Okay, so first is bottom, you have a foundation level services. And what I mean by foundation is that everything will build on top of that. So you have compute, and compute is nothing where you have a CPU and memory. And everything that when you think of a laptop or a PC or a server, you have compute, which is nothing but processing power, CPU and memory. That is my compute. It could be EC2, which is nothing but a virtual machines. It could be Lambda, which is a serverless function. We'll talk about that, where you don't manage the underlying machine. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Then you have storage. Storage could be, there are three types of storage. I'm going to cover that a little bit later, but the data is stored there. It could be a databases, it could be your machine data, it could be backup and restore. Any data you store, you have a data storage. Then you have a databases, which is a different type of database. Again, we'll cover a little bit later when we go on a data part, advanced part. And then when networking, which is basically everything that you do, it will have an IP address. So you need machines IP, you have a database IP, you have a load balancers IP, connectivity IP, but then you also need a boundaries segregation. Again, we'll see that a bit later on networking. So these are the basic, in my view, anyone who's working on an infrastructure as a service or platform as a service, they should know these foundation level services. Everyone, in my view, should be knowing basic. You don't need to be an expert, but enough about it. Then on top of that, you have application services, which is to manage predefined applications, which could be like for security, you have identity access management, you have a monitoring, logging, configuration, security, all those things. You also have a deployment and management. How do you manage the application? How do you deploy the applications? How do you deploy the underlying infrastructure through automations? That's we are going to look. Then you have a data analytics. I'm going to go a little bit deeper on later part, data analytics part, Kinesis, pipeline, Glue, Kathina, all those things from a data analyst, data engineer point of view. That's an application layer. Then you have from a deployment and management, how do you do email service, queue service, workflow service, search, all those things. And then you have an enterprise level services like your email service providers, or you can do a lot of other things as well. That is in a high level AWS services. Any doubts, guys? Put in the chat window. I'm going to cover that questions. I'm going to take a question as well on here. Now, from a compute point of view, there are different options of compute, which we'll be talking as we go. Then you have something for networking on storage. Then you have this for databases, data analytics, security, identity management, identity and access management, and management. I'm going to break down as we move forward onto these components. And this is the path. Let me first explain all those things. I will sum it up all on the path. It will make much more sense to you as well. So when you're going to for looking for a job, as long as you know enough about the basic terminology, you should be able to search for the job. Or the best way to search for the job is just search for AWS. And you will see things like EC2. What is EC2 will cover. What is S3 will cover. What is RDS will cover. ELB, IAM will cover all these things as well. But from a high level point of view, does it make sense to you, these services which I mentioned about? Is it all, are you still with me on? Just put in the chat window, yes. So I'll cover that ISPaaS. I have a basic class which I'll point you, Sumit. What is ISPaaS? Will explain you. We'll give you some supporting document to read after this class to explain. Okay. Yes. Okay. Great. So this is my AWS services, which will come up and ask here. So that's where we're going to pick the first topic, which is compute, which is nothing but your CPU and memory part. And again, I'm going to go very high level right now because the class, a lot of you guys are beginners, but more than happy to go deeper if you have a specific question. Like someone asked, Sumit asked ISPaaS, I'll give you some supporting document. Just remind me, someone from my team will remind me towards end, we'll talk about where to look for ISPaaS as well. Okay. So in compute, AWS is a different type of compute, which is nothing. Ultimately, they are doing me is CPU and memory. You have EC2, you have ECS. EC2 is nothing but my virtual machines. ECS is nothing but my containers, which is, I'll explain you when we go on to the container topic. And then right now, you don't need to learn all of them. I'm just going to talk about the key part, which is EC2. You might have ECS, this is which is a containers, and this is a Kubernetes that you'll see, which is important. And then you have a Elastic Beanstalk, which is a web app, which I'll explain you as well, and Lambda. These are the things, 4 or 5 things. Lambda is which is a serverless version that you'll see. So these are 4 or 5 things from a compute which you should be learning. So what is EC2? EC2 is nothing but a virtual machine you get so that you can log in like you have a Windows laptop, a Linux machine, and so on. Associated with that, you have a storage we call Elastic Block Storage, EBS, block storage. So that whatever machine needs to write somewhere, it writes into that particular storage. So that's EC2 virtual machines. Now Lambda, in EC2, I have to manage my machine. Here, think of it as like I say, do this part, my Lambda will do the activity and get the response back to me. So I'm paying all the command by command basis. I'm not managing the underlying CPU and memory or anything or any machine. That's my Lambda, which is serverless that you see here. Okay. Now that's on a, so a lot of jobs you will see, a lot of jobs that you're going to see, which will be seeing EC2s. So we'll see EC2, and I'll explain you S3 and RDS as well, but EC2 is very common that you see. That's one thing in processing. But other thing you will be seeing a lot about is containers and Kubernetes. You will see Kubernetes, which is lots and lots of jobs, tons of jobs. How many of you guys have heard of the word Kubernetes and say me? Just put it the word me if you've heard of Kubernetes here. Those who have, anyone who have not heard of, say no, not heard. So I understand that how the crowd is. A lot of guys be me. Yeah. So this is no. So Jayad, you must know this. A lot of guys know, not heard of. You should be knowing. Kubernetes is very, very important. Okay, so there are tons and tons of job available in Kubernetes. You should be doing what that Kubernetes I'm going to explain in a very high level. So typically, we were running servers. When I started my journey in IT, they were all a physical, one machine, one operating system. That's pretty much. 2005, VMware came, and on one machine, I can create multiple virtual machines and run, which means I can, within one hardware, I can run a multiple Windows machines or a Windows and a Linux machine or multiple Linux machines. So that's virtualization. 2013 came and Docker came. They said instead of running multiple virtual machines within one virtual machine, I can multiple small applications we call microservices, and microservices run on top of containers. So Docker came and built containers and containers. And then containers, they were within a machine, you can start 15, 10, 15, 20 containers, and you have a cluster of containers. You need something to manage that cluster of containers or containers. And that's where the Kubernetes came, which is a container orchestration engine management of that. So that is Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is to manage the containers that you have. Now, there are a lot of containers. Docker is not the only container. There are multiple containers, but Kubernetes is open source. You implement Kubernetes on cloud, and where you can implement Kubernetes on AWS Cloud, called EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. You can implement on Azure Cloud, which is AKS. You can implement on Google Cloud, Google Kubernetes Engine. You can implement on Oracle Cloud, which is Oracle Kubernetes Engine, OK, and so on. So that's implementation of Kubernetes. And within AWS, you have an ECS, which is AWS's own implementation of containers, container orchestration, which is ECS, which is AWS's proprietary container orchestration engine called ECS. Then implementation of Kubernetes on AWS Cloud, which is EKS. And then here, both of these needs underlying background EC2s to manage, which is a virtual machines, but Fargate is a serverless. I don't need to worry about underlying virtual machines or EC2s. When my EKS need a compute or ECS need a machines, the Fargate version of that implementation will automatically pick that. Now, that might be complicated. Don't want to think about worry, but as long as you know there are the 3 implementation on AWS Cloud, you'll be doing. Now, when to use each of these? That's a good question, Manoj. That is the role of architect to decide, should I go for ECS? Should I go for EKS? Should I go for Fargate? Each has pros and cons of implementation depending on what that is. And that's you as an architect will be deciding to say, implement that as well. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So this is EKS, and within so yes, everyone is using Kubernetes, which is fine. But then within Kubernetes, do you want a EKS or you want a Fargate? Because both are Kubernetes, underlying both are Kubernetes only. Okay. So now typically what happens is when you create some provisioning EKS clusters, you deploy the worker nodes, which is where the application goes. connect to, and then you start leveraging and run applications of Kubernetes cluster. That's a typical workflow happens as well. Am I making sense? Now, there might be some questions. I hope that makes sense. Is it all making sense? Is it all flowing to you, guys? Am I making sense now here? Put in the chat window. Is it all some thumbs up so far going good, or put in the chat? Let me know. Yes, only 2 yes. 3 yeses, 4 yes. I need a bit more. I think 100 plus of you guys are here. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, brilliant. So that's first part is about compute. And again, as there's a lot to you can do, you can go deeper. I'll tell you what all hands-on lab you should be doing when you're creating a virtual machine. So you can create a containers, you can create a lot of things you can do, and you should be doing to get a good paying job. Now, next part is storage. So whatever machines need to write, they need to write and store some data. There are 3 types of storage: object storage, block storage, and file storage. I'm not going to go deeper into because of time, but anything that you do, your images, videos, guides, backup and restore, folders, data I put, my documents I put, movies I put, they go in something called as blocks object storage, and they go into S3. S3 in a simple storage service, which is nothing but a bucket. Think of it as a go and containers there. Now, block is my data is written in a block by block manner, which means data is written into the on my hard disk on a block by block format. So my virtual machines need block storage. My databases need a block storage. So that's there's a EBS, elastic block storage. I can attach it to my EC2 machines. And then I have a file server, which you might have heard of, shared file system. Those who are coming from IT background, I have 2 machines, machine 1 and machine 2, but underlying I have the same storage. So let's suppose this is my EFS, and this machine here, both machines are using this particular underlying storage. That's the EFS here. So now you can do my S3 buckets for backup and restore purpose. A lot of use cases for S3 buckets. Another common thing you should be doing if you're working on AWS S3s as well. Now I can use my static websites. There are a lot of use cases of S3 buckets that you might see on as well. Now, again, I'm not going to go deeper into on these ones. You can do a lot of storage as well. This is the use case I was talking about. You have a virtual machine 1, virtual machine 2, and then you have my EFS, which is a shared file system. This machine will be writing and this machine can see. This machine is writing, this machine can see. And on top of that, I can even do the cluster file system. So both machines can write and read at the same time as well, clustered file system as well. So that's storage point of view I can do. And then I can go more advanced. This is my EC2. I can do same thing with my Kubernetes clusters, my shared file system as well. But is it making sense? So I'm going to go high level because I have a lot to cover. This is my storage for different purpose, different use cases I have on. Is it all with me? Are you still with me? Any questions? Let me know. I'm going to pick that as well. Yeah. I have no experience in this domain. Not sure if I can fit in what to learn. I'm going to cover that. But what to learn, which are going to cover IAPA. Okay, this is what we're going to cover. Tell a bit of your background as well. Okay. Yeah, Deepthi already mentioned, yes. So those who are beginner, don't worry about it. We'll go to keep it in this domain. Those who are not fair. Thanks, Deepthi, for picking this. Okay. Now, next is now another job role you might be getting is especially those who are coming from a networking background. There might be a job role, for example, technical architect, which is charging 800, 850 pounds a day. And if you look at, they're looking for someone with a networking background. And trust me, when I started my career, till 2011, 12, I had no IT, no networking background. When I started learning cloud, I realized I have to have the cloud networking knowledge. And again, you don't need to be a networking guru, but basic networking, which I'm going to cover here. So this job requirement requires networking concepts, but it also requires firewall implementation of. So AWS comes with its own firewall, but you can have a third-party firewalls like Fortinet or Palo Alto or Cisco or Checkpoint, all those things, implementation of that. So how to do, I'm going to cover that. But this is a kind of a job that you're looking for. There is a Terraform, which we'll see on day 3. CloudFormation, automation, we'll see it on day 3 as well, about some of these automation that you see. So from a networking point of view, typically, if you see this outer, this is my cloud account. Within that, I have something called as VPC, which is nothing but a boundary, network layer boundary. And this is where all my machines, my machines, load balancers, underlying databases, everything that needs IP will be given from this VPC. Okay, so in that, I'm creating a storage, also the networks. Now, this is a little bit more advanced topic, depending on if you are beginner. Typically, I have my This is my outer boundary. I have a one VPC and a second VPC. On that, VPC is nothing but a network boundary. So I have my machine EC2, which I mentioned, and EC1 and EC2. These two machines I'm creating. Let's suppose I have two virtual machines. These two machines will be in their own networks. I'm front-ended by a load balancer, which is coming. Now, if one option is I go from an internet and come directly to this EC2s, but I won't be able to check the network traffic. I don't, my firewalls are not as advanced as I want to. So what I can do, I can put a third-party firewall, in this case, Palo Alto, because this is what they're looking for in this job. So I'm looking for this particular firewall, which is Palo Alto firewall, and which I'm implementing here on the cloud. So any network going onto the backend applications, it's going through that Palo Alto firewall. And this is my active passive setup on Palo Alto. So if one site goes down, other site of firewall takes precedence of here. So this is what and it's going and connecting to this from here. And then any connections request coming back as well, it's going through, coming back onto a network inspection happening as well. So this is kind of a deployment you can do and do the setup on AWS Cloud as well. And there are different type of use cases you can do. Again, as I said, because some of you guys are beginner here, once you understand what is a VPC look like, what is a network look like, you will understand a lot more. But from an architect point of view, those who are looking for architect kind of job roles you mentioned, this is the kind of setup you'll be doing. Or I'm going to deploy a firewall and there are different type of firewalls you can do. So you'll be setting up these firewalls here. Am I making sense, guys? And some of you guys, which is for finding it advanced, put in the chat window and say advanced, or some of you guys who've already worked on underlying infrastructure, you probably might understand it as well. Yeah, so please help me to understand the design. Here's the traffic inbound coming inbound. So Subbu, this is a data coming request going in. If the data is going out, it will be going out from here. And this is basically for network inspection. This is for egress, which means coming egress is going out. So if this machine needs to go out, it will go through this. The data will be inspected, and then it will come back into this transit gateway and through go out here. If it's going in, it's going to make a request out here as well from here. I hope that makes sense. Correct, Hemanta. This is a firewall in the cloud. So AWS Cloud comes with its own firewall, but I can bring a third-party firewall the way I do it in my on-premise. I can bring the similar firewall on here as well. Great. Okay. Am I making sense, guys, or is it too much high level? It's too much advanced for some of you guys. Now I'm going to go again on a high level. You can also put something called as VPN, which means from my laptop, I can do a VPN, which is a virtual private network, which is a secure pipe, encrypted pipe between from my laptop to my cloud in AWS Cloud, and that called as point to site VPN, which is on one particular point, I'm connecting through a VPN onto my AWS Cloud. Or I can do site to site VPN, which means I have a VPN configured, a virtual private network between my customer office to my AWS Cloud so that do a secure communication. So another task as a network engineer will be understanding and doing as well. I hope that makes sense. Then I can have so this is my VPN, which is a network going over the internet. But then I also have a dedicated data pipe between from a dedicated pipe from a between the two. So I have a customer, my network, my office network and AWS Cloud, but I need a more bigger pipe. And I also want a dedicated pipe. In the VPN, I'm going the data over the internet. Whereas here, but the data, I have a dedicated pipe, which means I have access to the dedicated pipe and I get a bigger bandwidth like gigabytes of network traffic that I need as well. So that's another network connectivity method as well. And then you have a peering, which is nothing but a machine in this network can talk to a machine in different network and vice versa. This is called as peering, which is a different networks on AWS Cloud talk to each other so that machine can talk to each other like they are within the same network for network connectivity point of view. So that's kind of a peering as well. So these are some of the things that you can do. I'm not going to go deeper into those more advanced things, but then if you are working from a network background, you understand from these basic concepts, and then you can appear and apply for a network engineer role. Any network engineers here? And if not, just a high level is enough so that you can deploy and do your work. Are you still with me? Are you still with me on this one point, or was it too technical? Okay. Or just give me feedback, guys. Okay, great. Okay. If you're still with me, let's continue. And I'm also conscious of the time. We've already done 1 hour, close to 1 hour. I think I'm running late, but I think you're getting value of it. Okay. Now, this is a lot of you guys were earlier asking DevOps. How many of you guys are DevOps? Only a lot of guys who said DevOps. So I type DevOps here or type DevOps so I can look at DevOps automation now. How many of pay special attention because most of the time, if you're working as an administrator, developer, architect, or anything on that, even network engineers, DevOps is important. DevOps is important, brilliant. Okay, so this is what you do with DevOps, and DevOps is nothing but a right from, and again, some of these things we're going to go deeper into day 3, which is on 27th. You begin with planning that someone will plan and say, this is my whole software development cycle works. So someone will plan and then will be business analyst will be given to the business comment will be given and develop by business analyst. Developer will develop a code and then will be stored in a code repository, and then someone will compile that code and will go into build. So which is deployable unit, which could be a jar file, ER file, WAR file. It's a what do you call mm, images like Docker and container images as well. You can build and all those. If you're machine learning model, you can machine learning model deployment you can do. And then testers will test it. And then they will release on an environment, which is a dev environment, test environment, and then deploy it. And then overall manage that. So the continuous integration is the developer taking the code and putting into and creating into a build pipe so that they can test the code within that environment, it's working fine or not. That's CI. And then continuous delivery is constantly deploying that code and testing that code and right from infrastructure and all those things. That's CD, continuous delivery. And the whole point about right from start to end, that's continuous deployment. And within that, you can use different tools. Like you can use AWS Code Commit, which is outdated now. There's something else coming, which I'll probably not go deeper into right now. But then you have a pipeline, which is the AWS Code Pipeline. Something similar CI/CD tools. You have a Jenkins. You might have Argo CDs for something different, but GitOps and so on. And so you do all end-to-end deployment part as well. So that's one part, which is about you do from AWS. Their own tools comes into. Now, then you have another tool that you see. We're going to go deeper into 27th, which is day 3. Ansible, Terraform, and Ansible, which is Terraform is for infrastructure provisioning, which means I want to build servers, I want to build databases, I want to build network, I want to build anything that I do on cloud or on premise. I use a open source, depending on what version. There's an open source version, Terraform, for infrastructure provisioning. Similar to that in AWS Cloud, you have something called as Cloud Formation. And then you have Ansible, which is any configuration on top of that. What I mean by configuration on top of that is I'm deploying um, some server level configuration or changes or additional configuration on top of servers or network or storage or databases, anything I do through Ansible. There's something called as playbook, Ansible playbook. So I have a Terraform and Ansible that you see on for provisioning on availables. So these are open source. This is outside AWS Cloud, AWS Cloud tools. These are tools outside AWS. Something similar on AWS, you have AWS Cloud Formation, which does the same thing, but AWS Cloud Formation is only for AWS, whereas this Ansible and Terraform are for AWS proprietary as well. Then if this is a code pipeline, something similar to Jenkins, if you've heard of, or GitOps or Git or GitOps or any other CI/CD pipelines like Circle CI or Bamboo or all those things. AWS has an entire code pipeline which will pick up right from source to build to test to stage to production and test everything end-to-end AWS code pipeline that have CI/CD tools as well. Now, when you're deploying these across environments, you can have a test environment, dev environment, or within production environment you deploy, you can have a different type of deployments. I'm not going to go deeper right now because of time, but you can do canary deployment, blue-green deployment, rolling updates, feature flag, A/B split testing, and so on. This is an example of blue-green deployment where what I'm doing, I have two environments which is exact replica of each other. So uh, on one code, on one environment, I have a load balancer, which is dictating and going to the, my traffic is going to one environment. I make some modifications onto the other side and then start diverting my traffic to the old one, the new one. And then if required, I can fluctuate that traffic. It's all done automatically without AWS will handle all these blue-green deployment. So that's all possible and it's deployable and configurable as well. So this is again Bluegate deployment. You can do a lot of other deployment methodology like on AWS. You can do all through AWS code pipeline, automated CI/CD within AWS Cloud as well. And when you go for this, you go for a certification called AWS DevOps. You can go for once you understand these DevOps. So just given a 30,000 foot view of AWS pipe of DevOps, but you go much deeper as well. Is it making sense, guys? So far, so this is for a high level again for DevOps. Is it making sense? There are a lot of guys. I'm expecting a little bit more because I'm going to go for how to prepare for the job. So pay attention onto this particular part. This is going to be, I think, very important. Yes. Okay. Let's see how many of guys are here. There's a lot of. Okay. Akila, Andy, Avnesh, Adipti is from my time. Hamid, Hiban, John, Lela, Mahinder. Pay attention. And guys, you're from multitasking. Come back onto Prem, Rashmi, Rupak. Brilliant. Sairam, Sahid, Subbu. Subbu is asking questions. Brilliant. Okay, let's continue. So this is pay attention. How I would do if I have short on time, how to prepare for the job. So let's suppose I go and look for this job, and this job is coming DevOps, what we saw earlier just now. So you have a Terraform. It's asking about Kubernetes. I gave you a very 30,000 foot view about Kubernetes. There's something called as APIs gateway, APIs web services, microservice networking, and so on. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'll go and I'll pick up this job and I'll go to ChatGPT, AI tool. How many of you guys are familiar with ChatGPT? I think pretty much everyone. I don't need to ask, but I'm assuming you already know about ChatGPT. I'm going to say, share me a sample resume for the below job description. I'll give the job description. Now, based on now you know on a high level what things you can write on this. Now, again, don't copy paste as it is. Just change and based on, I think, put whatever you've learned on AWS, go and modify. But some things I need to write at least these key important points again. Maybe pause this video, come back to this recording later and pause this. But I'm not going to go deeper right now, but watch that one more time and say, modify that slightly as per your comfort, as per what you know. If not, learn these things as well. So these are the things you should be incorporating in your resume that you should be doing. Now, second thing is then, once you see this job description, what you need to do is check who this job came from. This job was from Steve Daly. So I need to prepare the resume, send him, but I also need to reach out to this person on LinkedIn and say, hey, I've sent this resume because what's happening? Lots and lots of guys are sending the resume and one recruiter gets probably 100, 200 jobs, the resumes. So what you should be doing is you want to be outsmart and you need to be reaching out to these recruiters as well, potential recruiters as well. So what you should be doing, then you go and find out the Steve on Delhi. And then because if you see now here, the guy he's from SR2 Steve Delhi. You can go onto LinkedIn and search for Steve Delhi. And I was able to find him and he's based in here. I can go and make a connection request. So I know that this is the guy, SR2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the chat GPT and say, create a message for LinkedIn connection request to Steve Daly and explaining why I'm the best qualified for this role. Keep it simple, keep it short and simple. I'll give you the prompt as well. You can reach out to that after sending your resume as well to this person as well. Now, you can also, now you got the message. You can also go and say, become an interviewer and for the above job role and ask me the list of interview questions based on the above job description. And then you prepare for your job. Maybe now expect what are the experiences. So expect this kind of a question. And when you go for interviews, if you prepare for these type of interview questions before going to the interview, you'll have much more chances of, because there's a very high probability that some of these questions will be asked in the interview. Or on the similar lines, or even if interviewer doesn't ask on similar lines, you can mold them. You can, based on answers, you can take them on journey, will mold them or move them towards these kind of a questions so that can start asking you questions. Or maybe you can tell, hey, this is my journey. This is what I've done with respect to these job descriptions as well. So maybe look at from a technical expertise point of view, the scenario-based questions, and whatever they are asking the job description, I'm going to ask if I'm an interviewer, these are the things which I'll be asking about your experience with AWS, Terraform, Kubernetes, Service Mesh, and these things. And I can go and prepare these things as well. Now, I don't stop here. One more thing I'm going to give you as well. Is it making sense, guys? Is it making sense? I'm going to go, don't stop here. I'm going to go one more step here further down and I will go to say that, hey, give me list of hands-on labs which I should be preparing. So I'll be saying the hands-on lab that I should be doing. So maybe it'll say that, hey, launch AEC2, create a security group, and manage auto scaling. Now, you may not know these things, and that is where how to get, we'll be talking about giving you what all probably hands-on lab that you should be performing, how to perform those hands-on lab. You can do all these things on AWS Cloud itself as well. So go and perform these hands-on lab before you go for the interview so that you know and you can talk confidently. And that is how people that I know, and I'm going to show hundreds and hundreds of guys who got jobs, that's how they prepare inside the programs that we do as well. So is it making sense? And does are you following this? Or you think it's going to work if you follow? Will that add? I'm going to point, I'll yeah. Is it all making sense? Is it, and just let me know that is it worth doing, or so we're saying it's making sense, but need help with the labs. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We'll tell you how to get help as well. Brilliant. Yes. Okay. So this is what I would say. Now, of course, you might go to deeper, but this is how you will learn these things quickly. So rather than learning, because cloud is huge and what happens is, and this is where I'm telling and teaching, that people spend lots and lots of time on doing things which are not relevant. You should be doing is what's relevant and important for the job, so you can learn these things quickly. Now, how do I do hands-on lab? I'll talk about that as well in a minute. Yeah. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go quicker now as well on security. Like that, you have a users, and from a security point of view, you have users, groups, roles, policies, and then all these security related services like WAF, which is a web application firewall, identity access management, key management service, HCM hardware security module, AWS Shield, firewall managers, certificate managers, secret, single sign-on, inspector, guard duty. Now, you don't need to learn all of them. Only if the job demands, then you go and learn these things. So you're focusing as per the job description. And once you get a job, or once you get a high-paying job, then you can learn on the job as well. So this is another from an identity security point of view. And then go for there's a certification called this certification, which is AWS security certification as well. Now, then similarly, you go for migration. Now there are different phases of migration, different type of migrations. So when you go for migrations, and again, this is when if your project demands migration, if the job role demands migration, which again, if you've shown in your resume that you've done migrations, understand from a migration point of view, there are 4 major phases happens is readiness for migration. Then you migration planning for the migration, you do design, and then actually migrate and then optimize your migration. This is I'm giving a very high level 30,000 feet view. But when you migrate, there are 7 migration paths you can do. What I mean by 7 migration is that, hey, you can rehost, which means you can lift as it is to the cloud. So whatever you on premise, just put it like for like on AWS Cloud. Okay, so or you can relocate, which means relocate means like let's suppose on premise you have a VMware virtualization, you can put entire VMware virtualization on AWS Cloud. Or you can have a replatform, like for example, in on-premise, I have a normal database, on AWS Cloud do RDS. Or in on-premise, you have a normal whatever, you have a like virtual machines or a normal application. On AWS Cloud, I put it into containers and Kubernetes replatform. Or I say, I'm not going to do, I'm going to repurchase everything, which means I'm going to drop everything on cloud. I'm going to go fresh new implementation on AWS Cloud. Now, refactoring is where I'm going to go on and saying AWS specific or cloud specific applications like RDS, or as I said, ECS and so on. Or I might say, hey, I don't even, I've decided that it's not worth these applications. I'm going to retain and do nothing about and not even want to go to cloud for that particular application. Or some application I'm not even using, I'm going to retire that as well. So these migrations you should have. If the project demands migration, you go and look at these migrations, because the time I'm not going to go on deeper here. But I just said start inside the one-to-one path, which I mentioned that at the start, we cover all these things in depth, depending on the job role demand that you demand as well. Okay, so this is again, as I said, there are different migration services on available. So you can do database migrations, so you do application migrations. So whole migration tools are available on AWS Cloud, and this is a migration services which you have is application migration services. You have a database migration services. You can even do mainframe migrations. You do Windows on AWS migration. You have SAP, Oracle, VMware, all these migrations do from on-premise to cloud, depending on the project. You don't need to learn all of them or don't learn all of them. Just pick what project demands and learn that particular part. Am I making sense, guys? Is it making sense that you learn only the things that you're looking for from a lift and shift and migration point of view? Still with me? Yes. Okay, brilliant. My team, someone can tell me how to remove this line as well, on if you know, someone knows. Okay. So now, as I said, so if the job demands that, hey, um, the on particular that job, there's a migration happening, then you do a migration related project, which is these project based learning, which I'll talk about towards and about what that, how you get hold of these. We get tons and tons of projects inside the mastermind that I was talking about. So one of the migration is how do you migrate applications, databases and data, which goes very in depth on migrating this end to end from on-premise to cloud. So that includes your databases, relational databases, you cover virtual machines, and couple of other data and applications. Also, how do you convert a monolithic application, which is one big bulky application, onto microservices as well? Okay, so these projects, which I'll talk about later. Yeah. So with that, let's move on to the another part, which is for data engineer, and then after that we'll have one more section which is about AI and machine learning. So till now we have about infrastructure, more from a infrastructure architect, DevOps, container security, EC2s and those. Now we're going to look at from a data engineers and data analyst point of view. How many data analysts, how many data engineers? Based on that, I'm going to go deeper or keep it high level depending on that. Yep. Okay, on the left-hand side, on the bottom of we move. Okay, great. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Seeing someone else came. Okay, clear order. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Deepthi. Oh, Deepthi was already mentioned. Thanks, Deepthi. Okay. Yeah. Let me close this. Yeah. Okay. So this is a data engineer. Monisha is data engineer. Only one data engineer. Karan is data engineer. Only two data engineers. So Hamid, DBA. I started my career as a DBA, database administrator. So yes, it will be applicable. You should be doing database. Only three. That's we should increase the DBS. Okay, brilliant. Yes, there's four. There's lot less. Okay, I'm going to cover. So from a data related services, you go for S3. So storage and databases, they fall in. You have a S3, which is simple storage service, which I said. There's a relational databases, RDS for AWS. Sorry, my mistake. Sorry, RDS for Oracle, RDS for MySQL, RDS for Microsoft SQL, RDS for Postgres, and so on. You also have a DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL databases. You have a Redshift, which is a data warehouse solution. You have Elastic Cache, you have a Neptune, other things as well, but these are more common ones. Then for migration, you have data migration services. Then you have big data analytics services like Elastic MapReduce, which is a big data Hadoop implementation on AWS Cloud. You have Athena, which is for query, interactive query analysis, which is for SQLs. You have Kinesis, which is, sorry, my mistake. So which is a for data collection, data processing, real-time streaming data for Kinesis, streaming data that's coming from multiple sources. Glue, which is ETL tool, like extract, transform, load. If you're coming from Microsoft background, like you have tools like Azure Data Factory on something Glue. You have QuickSight, which is a BI business intelligence similar to Power BI and so on. And then you have a data integration workflow services like functions and AWS data pipeline that you see. So this is for RDS. You have for MariaDB, Aurora, Oracle, MySQL, PostgreSQL, Microsoft SQL, these implementation on AWS Cloud, which is Amazon address. DynamoDB, I said, NoSQL. And if you're coming from a data or database background, data architect, data engineer, these are services you should be learning in AWS Cloud. I've already mentioned about data migration, database migration service, which is to migrate from an on-premise to cloud databases from an on-premise to cloud that you do. Also, there's a snowball, which is a huge amount of data. Let's suppose you have a petabytes of data. You can't do it over the network. And this will come handy into if you're doing a migration, if you're an architect, or if you're playing a role of a migration, then how do you migrate the data petabytes of where your truck comes, move the data, and then ship it to AWS Cloud as well. Then you also have Elastic MapReduce, which I've already mentioned, big data processing and so on. Athena, all those things that you should probably be doing. Now, data integration glue is very, very critical, especially if you're working as a data engineer, data scientist, data architect, or anyone who's working on data on AWS Cloud, maybe have at least understand these concepts as well. Then you have a lake formation, which is nothing but you have a data stored in different places, on your lake house. the permission or centralized management of permission. So only data is accessible on a centralized permission management system for that you have for data on different systems that you have. Also that workflow, this is a step function, visual workflow services that you do. Now, what you can do with AWS Cloud is AWS provides you the build data pipeline. And data pipeline is data ingestion, which is data coming from different sources like ERPs and like your different sources, data coming from a SaaS application. You have a file system or you have a laptops and so on coming stored into S3 Lakehouse, okay, that you build. And then from using my orchestration or cataloging, I can structure and put them into different categories. And then from there, I can do using data processing, using Glue, which is an ETL tool. I can move it into different sources, which is then used by my, for example, my data analyst. They'll be using, or data scientist. It may be going for a Redshift or a S3, or maybe for going for my machine learning for machine learning data processing and so on. It might be used by developers. It might be used for data engineers for different sources on target places as well. My data coming from a data streaming sources like Kinesis and so on as well. So this is for data pipeline. So now again for jobs, if you see now data and DevOps, this is a combination of these kind of a jobs that are like for you, entry or getting a job will be easy as long as you've done, if you're coming from a data background, if you live with DevOps, or if you're coming from a DevOps background and understand data, finding that kind of a resource is difficult and challenging, and that's why they pay good 650 or 900 pounds a day. Now, why I get excess of 1,000 pounds a day is because I can do architecture, I can do low-level design, I can do data, I can do AI machine learning, I can do a lot of networking and other parts as well. So when you can do more than one skill, you become, that's when you start earning a lot of money that you see. So data and DevOps, which is a combination of DevOps and data jobs that you probably might be applying as well. And that brings to the final part about, or that from a skills point of view, AI, machine learning, generative AI. Now, again, you don't need to do all of them. I'm saying just one or two, but if you do more, that will become much helpful and much handier for you. So AI, machine learning, generative AI. Just put it up. And how many are interested on about AI, machine learning, generative AI? How many of guys are interested to learn on this part as well? So DBS, just put in the chat window. Now, Deepti is saying possible to share PPT. PPT is only for the, unfortunately, we won't be able to share the PPT. The PPT is only for those who are part of my inner mastermind. So we don't share these. These are with inside the program mastermind. Interested? Okay, only one person is interested. Okay. Oh, yeah, yes, okay. Okay, a lot of guys, so I didn't see that message. Yes, okay, brilliant. So I'll go high level because of the time, and then because I wanted to wrap it into 90 minutes, or maybe I'll extend 15 minutes, and I'll do the question answers after that. So AI, on a top level, you have AI been for since 70s or 80s, or much earlier than you and I can believe and think. AI, machine learning, we've been doing building machine learning logics for again 10, 15, 20 years, as long as I can remember. Companies have already been doing. Then, so machine learning is a subset of AI, and deep learning is a subset of machine learning, which is a kind of a based on a neural networks, where you might have seen a lot of image recognition. So you go onto the cameras, and on for example, you go in a airport and or train stations, and they can detect you and who's traveling. Your whole things can be by governments that can easily track on this. So much more advanced things on deep learning that you see built on neural network. Again, for the time being, I'm just keeping it very high level. But inside the things which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, you go much deeper into those things. Then you have generative AI, which is again last when ChatGPT came, they revolutionized this whole thing, generative AI with the ChatGPT, which is you generate something. Which generate could be the content, which is the text that you saw, or it could be stories, it could be code, it could be the images, it could be the videos, and so on that you see. All those which is generative based on something called as LLMs, large language models. And there are other concepts again in the community, which I'll share to you. You can read more about that whole thing about generative AI as well. So within AWS, there are a lot of AI services which are available, which means managed AI. You just give them and they will do the processing. You don't need to do anything like Amazon recognition, which will do a video analysis, which will be do analysis and they'll recognize, or Poly or Lex or Comprehend. I'm not going to go on these. These are predefined AI services which you can leverage, which are happening. For example, you get we use a lot of audio calls, and it does the processing. It gives us a summary of what was discussed in that audio. Today, also after this call, we'll do a summary of this call that is being done by. It could do a comprehend. So, for example, comprehend is it like extracting what understand and insights from that particular text. So we might this video might be converted into text, and the text might be then converted into something meaningful out of that. Like that, you have a machine learning services. You have a SageMaker, which is the machine learning studio. Now, SageMaker will use the data, and that data will be coming from Glue, which is ETL tool. So ETL will bring the data to me into the central place, which will be used by my SageMaker to do some machine learning model. So what thing you need to be doing if you're doing AI machine learning? SageMaker is another tool, tool you should be doing. Guys, don't draw it. Please, yeah, my team can, if you can give the control on drawing. Okay, so then you have there are also deep learning. So there are deep learning machine images. So if you want to do more advanced processing or machine learning algorithms, there are AMIs, which is a images through which you can run your models or deploy models. This is going a little bit more advanced. There are also chipsets available, and you can those chipsets you can use to build your machine learning or train your machine learning models. And then you have a Gen AI services, which is called as Bedrock, using which you develop applications. This is more common, but then also there's a code whisperer and there's a deep composer, but Bedrock is more common. So there are two things you should be doing primarily for AI and machine learning very aggressively. One is Amazon Bedrock, which is mainly for all your generative AI. So doing playground, chat playground, text playground, image playground, and do. So this is what you do is a console through which you can import all the different models, like from model within AWS, or which is done by Amazon, or but third party like Meta or Anthropic or any other, or Hugging Face or any other machine learning models if you're familiar with that concept. But again, if not, come and work with us. We'll teach and guide you on everything about how to do all these things on AI machine learning. So you do here. Then you have, so this is mainly for Bedrock, is mainly for generative AI, whereas for machine learning, you have SageMaker, which will do all end-to-end, right from training the model, deploying the model, end-to-end more advanced machine learning things that you do from a SageMaker. But it also supports all the machine learning frameworks, libraries that you do. So end-to-end machine learning studio setup that you do from a SageMaker as well. So from a certification point of view, you can do for AI Foundation certification, practitioner. Then you have a machine learning associate, and you also have a machine learning specialist certification that you can do and understand as well. So that's pretty much on a high level, everything that I can think of from a developers, administrators, DBAs, networking, data, AI, machine learning that you can think of. I'm going to go on a hands-on labs that you probably might be. Begin with basic labs. Basic lab, what I mean by is create a free account. You can do that. Then you do some billing alarm, create some machines, Linux, Windows machines, create some do some command line on this machine so you can practice as a through a command line method. Then you do for identity and access management. So what I mean by identity access management, create some users, groups, roles, enable multi-factor. Do key management, which is KMS setup, which is keys to store your encrypted data or sensitive data that you have. Then you go for in a compute EC2s, you create some Windows and Linux machines. Maybe attach them some storage, which we saw earlier, EBS. Put them into auto scaling, which means as the load increases, your machines increase. As the load decreases, the machine goes down. Configure load balancers in front. Maybe install containers and Kubernetes or Docker images. Push those Docker images into something called as ECR, Elastic Container Registry, to store those images and do clusters and so on from a Kubernetes clusters. Then you go for buckets, maybe create some S3 buckets, store the data, maybe do some lifecycle management, which means as the data becomes older, automatically put them into a lower pricing tier. Or you replicate the data across regions so that your data is safe. Or create block storage and attach those block storage to the EC2s. Or do some backup and restore of snapshots, or using the snapshot, create machines. And then maybe attach the file storage service or EFS to Windows machine, Linux machine, format and present that EFS onto the underlying Linux underlying file system, create a format on file system. If you're coming from a storage background or Unix administrator, sys administrator, people were saying and earlier talking about. Or you can do more advanced things like networks, so create virtual private clouds, create different VPCs, connect to them, configure VPN, configure site-to-site, point-to-site VPNs, configure load balancers, and then assign, do DNS, basically domain name service, which means configure DNS, do the load balancers, web traffic, use deploy WAF, web application firewall. Or you can go more on a databases, configure RDS, configure DynamoDBs, or create Redis cache, do EC2s, sorry, the Glue, Athena, Kinesis, do some hands-on labs around those parts as well. And then another important thing which you should be doing, event-driven architecture using notification service, queue service, email service, all those things. So you can show it some of these things in your projects. Then if you're coming from a data background, then also automation and configuration management use CloudFormation to do end-to-end deployment. Maybe do Beanstalk, which is a platform as a service where you're doing deploying. So you don't need to worry about underlying operating system. You don't need to worry about underlying the libraries. It will do all the libraries for you. So if you say it's a Java application, it will build the underlying Java applications. If it's a .NET, it'll bring the underlying .NET libraries and so on. So you do maybe say Beanstalk, or do a blue-green deployment on automation configuration. Maybe do a auditing, configuration management from a security point of view, do the WAF, or maybe do CI/CD deployment, do end-to-end code commit, code pipeline, automation of entire whole thing, right from a start, right from a compiling the code, which we saw in DevOps, right from compiling the code to deploying the code on containers and Kubernetes, build the infrastructure using maybe either CloudFormation or using Terraform, you can invoke and do deployment, all automated CI/CD and so on you can do. And then if you go from a databases point of view, maybe do a migration of databases, migration of applications, VMs from on-premise to cloud, database migration. And then how do you speed up those performance of, let's suppose you're migrating data, you're migrating terabytes of data, how do you do the data transfer application, especially for S3s or buckets if you have on-premise, doing the backup and restore, how do you do those? Some of these things you probably might want to do. This is again, that's how we're talking about infrastructure, but then do the same thing for databases, datas. So ingestion and how do you do the ingestion of data or data stores, all those things which you mentioned, or data governance and data security on data from a data engineering point of view. Same thing from a generative AI or AWS practitioner or machine learning. I'm not going to go deeper into these things, but anyone is interested, which probably you can check out these URLs, but if you want to go deeper and if you need access of these things, I'll basically give you an option of booking a call with my team to see if you fit for that particular thing and if you're the right person for these, so that if you want to work closely with us to get hold of these things. Now again, you don't need to do all of them, just do 1 or 2 or 3 what is required for the job. So you get a job and learn remaining things on. We've given you everything that you need to become an expert on these domains. So things like RAG, which is a retrieval augment generation, RAG, and I'm not going to go into too much detail right now, but just to give a high level overview as well. And then followed, so this is individual hands-on lab. So you do a particular operation within cloud. And then you go and do the project work. And what I mean by project work is maybe this is where whatever you've learned, do it end to end. So you can show in your experience, in your resume as an experience saying that I've done 3-tier architecture. So where you deploy you create 3 networks, database tier, web tier. I think if I say, let me show you one of this. Yeah, so it's there. I'm going to explain you. So maybe do a 3-tier architecture end to end, or you do end-to-end CI/CD pipeline on DevOps, or do a blue-green deployment end to end. So you can put in a resume as saying you've done it, and show them this is how we have done it. So let's suppose the project talks about is a VPN API deploying API gateways. So you deploy API gateway application database on that. Or if the project requires about is maybe I think for network, configure a end-to-end site-to-site VPN, point-to-site or site-to-site VPN from on-premise to cloud or within your laptop to AWS Cloud, and show it that as a project. So this is a 3-tier architecture we're talking about from a project point of view. So you have a database tier, application tier, which is a server or application tier, and you have a client tier. And this is a more advanced things. You should be able to build that right now. We're going to show you how in that initial I said about is I'm going to work with a handful of guys. That's what I'm going to show how to do that. So you have the backend, This is I create a database tier, which is a primary active. This is passive. So active passive. You have an application tier, you have a EC2s, two EC2s, and this is more for those who are coming from an architecture background. This is one of the architecture, which is 3-tier architecture. Typically, you do in on-premise world, same thing on cloud, but there's also a containers and Kubernetes based architecture. There's a event-driven architecture. There's a database architecture or data pipeline architecture. Depending on what projects you're doing, you define architecture like these. So you have my active application machines, and then you have auto scaling, which means as load increases, right now they should show 2, maybe 3, 4, 5 as load increases increasing, and as load decreases, you can decrease them as well. And you have a load balancer in front. Then you have a more front-end web tiers, which is nothing but my web server sitting on front, and which is again fronted by application load balancer. So my request is coming and hitting to internet through internet gateway to the application load balancer and going to these two web servers. From there, it's going to the another load balancer and then going to the backend machines. And from there, they both going to the active site, which is one database tier. If this database goes down, this automatically will be failed over to this one. And these will start going all to this here. And this is all happening automatically. So and then you configure firewalls in between so that only this machine can talk to this machine, and that too only on wherever the port, specific port numbers, not on everything. So that there's no security compromises on that. And this is how you do end-to-end one setup, and you say, this is what you've done. Making sense? So these are the kind of things we're going to cover that as well. Yes, we cover. Shukantala is saying, do you do DevOps with AI training course? Yes, we do. Everything we do. Yes. Do you have the labs training in the community platform, Subbu? Yes, we do have that. Not in the free community, it's in the paid community. Yep. Okay, brilliant. Okay. So then you go for certification. These are the different certifications. Foundation Professional. I'm going to give you some, because of the time, I want to give some of these because I'll want to take some question answers, and we'll point about the document of the certifications. Each of these certifications, the most important, most critical, which I see in demand is solution architect, and then again, I see a lot of demand for DevOps. So a lot of guys go for solution architect associate, maybe do, and you can directly go for AWS solution architect. I see a lot of guys for DevOps. A lot of guys also go for data engineer. And also I've seen more and more demand now AI and then machine learning associate, this one here as well. And then of course, depending on your choice, you want to go developer, network, security, practitioner, and so on as well. So these certifications, as I said, tons and tons of guys, success stories. I think I've done, I'm not mentioned here, but lots and lots of guys have done the certifications. Lots of guys have got the job as well. I'm going to show you tons and tons of guys as well. So with that, job roles path, let me show it to you on the 1 second before we go. Let me do on some of the success stories of the guys who have done. So where you can find these information is if you go to k20academy.com/free community. Let me show it to you. So first of all, you go onto this classroom here. Let me make it bigger. So this is absolutely free community, and we have a paid community as well. That where I'm going to, but let me first show it to the free community. So this is what I was talking about. Make sure you go and watch this video. This is our 2 hours class, which will give you all the background which I've run. But this is success stories is this is the guys which probably have shown is tons and tons of guys to show you. Sarkar got a job as a Kubernetes admin. Kennedy, which I think I mentioned about Kennedy earlier here. John, she changed her job in 40s. Sean, unemployed for 7 months to recently accepted a well-paid job in AWS Cloud Architect. SJ, I've already mentioned at the start, she doubled her salary. Simran got a job as a data analyst. Anthony got a job as a Azure migrations. Tolu from Node to IT background, I've already mentioned that. And tons of guys, you can keep on and on. Foyang, Yash got a job as a data engineer. There are a lot of guys on. So that's another one which you can go and check it out here. And also not just this, but there's also a video testimonial. You will learn a lot from what they've done differently. So there's a video testimonials that you'll be seeing from Ashima. I think she probably on and so on. So maybe Joby, he moved from Australia. He was struggling to get interview calls. and got a job very quickly on these. So go and check out these things, which will help you to inspire you on how these guys have done whatever I'm talking about. So that's one. Also worth looking at uh, career guidance. I've done a lot of questions here about career guidance, like senior DBA. So someone was a DBA. I recorded, I think, day before yesterday or last week, DBA to multi-cloud. This what things you should be doing and what things you should be learning. Also, if you're working as a AWS jobs, how do you find a jobs in AWS in UK, AWS or AIML jobs in Canada, Azure infrastructure jobs? There are tons and tons of questions I've covered. If you don't have a coding or programming, what you should be doing, or case study for someone's. And yeah, so like that, you'll find tons and tons of things, information here on this. Also, if you want to beginner in AIML, you can have a look at it. Now, this is where free account, you can go and create some free account on AWS Azure, which will be using FAQs, frequently asked questions about. This was talking about that the path worth going looking and look at some of these things as well. Yeah. So also this is us talking about is this is all a free community. We have a paid program community as well. This is for limited guys masterminds that we do, and these are all the classrooms that you see, and these are the all projects that you see later. So this is us talking about 3D architecture project, end-to-end project that I was talking about. Go much deeper onto, and there's tons and tons of more projects that are available here. This is how we're talking about AWS CI/CD pipeline, migrating from monolithic application to microservices, SSL, TLS, waste, or hosting the websites, and then deploying applications and tons of. Okay, so with that, let me go back on to, and I'm going to pick up some questions as well. So this is about these paths, and with that, we're going to look at a job roles and job path as well. So if you're going for a solution architect, I'll maybe what I'll do is, because of the time, I'm going to record a video on this particular part because I want to take some questions on here. I was planning to do 90 minutes. I'm going to do I'll record a video about these paths, which is if you're going for architect. This is a certification path, but you don't need to do all these certifications. You can directly go for solution architect. This is what I did. But if you're going for, this is what AWS recommends in this path, but you can directly jump on this particular, any of these paths as well. And if you come on Monday, we're going to do the same thing for AWS, for Azure Solution Architect. If you're going for system administrator, this is what you'll be doing, or cloud engineer, this is the path. But again, don't go. You can directly go on, if I'm in your place, I would directly go for, if I'm an architect, this is what I would do. I will go for just this certification, AWS Solution Architect or Azure Solution Architect. But this is a path AWS recommends. I would go directly onto these. Because we only have limited time. When I say limited, means you want to jump onto the job quickly. Don't fall in the trap of certification, guys. So if I'm an administrator, I might go for CK, Certified Kubernetes Administrator. We are going to cover that CK on day 3, or I'll go for Azure Administrator. Okay. Then I go for, if you're going for development, I might go for Docker development, or Kubernetes Cloud Native KCNA, or Kubernetes Application Developer, or Azure Developer, or AWS Developer. These are any one of them, or maybe all of them. I'll do just one. Don't go for everything, in my view. Okay, then similarly, if I'm going for a test engineer, you can pick this path, which I'm going to cover maybe DevOps, either DevOps or test, same DevOps Institute, Terraform, Azure DevOps, AWS DevOps. So which I think I mentioned this particular path. And then for cloud security, either go for Azure security, which is AZ500, or AWS security, or there's a Kubernetes security specialist from a cybersecurity point of view. Then I'm going for network engineer. There's one certification, which is AWS advanced networking, or Azure networks secure engineer. And then for data engineers, you have AWS as Azure AWS data engineer. But Microsoft, this is also very popular, which is Azure data engineer. We're going to cover on day 2, which is on Monday, Azure data engineer, from a data engineer point of view. Or you can go for Azure database administrator or data analyst. If someone is data analyst, then you probably, from a Microsoft Azure point of view, PL300. If AWS has merged data analyst and data engineering and data architect, all of them into one certification. AWS still has AWS has merged all the certifications. Microsoft has still separate, one for data engineer, one for data analyst, one for data administrator, database administrator, and this is fundamental certifications. Okay, and this is for more AI machine learning. If I'm in a machine learning, oh, where is this gone? Oh, missing. Okay, so for data scientist, I'll explain. There's a DP 100. We'll cover that on, I think maybe I'll cover that on Monday. I think I'll go with AI practitioner, and there's a machine learning associate, and there's a machine learning specialist. There's one more which is from a Microsoft Azure Cloud DP 100. Now, I'm not going deeper into certification because I believe that your focus should be on job and doing hands-on lab and project, because that's when you'll be earning a lot of money as well. Now, with that, the final phase about is a 3-step framework, which will highly recommend you. This will help you. This is exactly what helped me to go from earning less than $100 a month to earning probably now in excess of £1,000 a day. And this has also helped all the success stories that you see. People get quick result using this framework. Otherwise, you spend lots and lots of time of keep learning, or going on certification journey, which will not give as quick a result, as better result as this framework which I talk about. Do you want me to spend a few minutes, put in the chat window if you want me to cover and say 3 steps? Do you have a lab training in the community platform? Yes, do Subbu. We have all these things. Okay, maybe. So, Subbu, yes. Current pay after placement, we have nothing like pay after placement, because if you don't pay you don't pay attention. We'll cover. Do you have a? Yeah, I think I mentioned. Okay, just put in the chat window and say 3 steps. 3 steps. Just put into 3 steps in the chat window. Okay, good. Upendra, Jayad. Brilliant. Okay, so the first is, this is the overall high level, which is a job accelerator, which is why we announced it. As I said, I used to do a lot of certification. We still have some certification focus. We also have a smaller version, which is just a particular role. So just AWS architect, or just job, or just AWS data jobs, or just AWS AIML jobs, or Azure AIML, Azure data. What I'm starting off for is a one-to-one, which started on 12th. We fully booked very quickly within probably, and because for 2 reasons. First of all, I'm not taking everyone. I'm only taking just a 5 guys, and because this is I'm personally involved into this, and this is a high-level mastermind that I do, which is a job accelerator to help you. And this is only we're selecting for guys who already have some, which I can move them, help quickly get a job. So this is a first is you begin with, first of all, you need to understand where you are, which is this first 1 week, which is to understand what your strengths are, where you want to go, and what you will need to achieve from going from A to B. Because if you're a complete beginner, the path might be slightly different. If you're already into IT, path might be slightly different. If you're already into IT and have some basic knowledge of cloud, path will be different. If you are already into IT and already cloud and you have some knowledge, the path will be different. So first is understand your background, strength, career goals, and based on that, identify the gaps, skills. And first is where you are and where you want to go. Once these 2 things are, then how to go from this to this, and then creating a personalized roadmap. That's why I said it takes time and effort and resources on our part. So that's what we are going to first 1 week, hence limited things, limited time. So or limited seats. So you do triage, and then you focus on 3 pillars. Once we know that, you lock down the plan for you. You do 3 things. One is do hands-on lab and project. This is very, very important. Hands-on and labs project. Of course, you understand the concepts, and of course, you do the theory part, but you learn by doing activities. So you do hands-on, which is everything. So right from, let's suppose you learn EC2, you prepare a machine and then attach it to the database, or sorry, attach it to the storage, and then do a backup and restore, do whatever end-to-end, same thing, whatever the hands-on lab and the projects which I mentioned. Do those things, and then parallelly when you're doing, work on your resume and LinkedIn, which means resume should be aligned per the job description. Each job resume should be changed as per the job description. And then you go and make sure your LinkedIn is also aligned. LinkedIn is very, very important. We give a 13-point checklist, which I'll explain in a minute. 3 or 4 are very, very important. You do, and then parallelly working on mock interviews. So all these 3 things should go parallelly, hand in hand, once you have the basic idea about a particular whatever role you want to apply for the job. So what I mean by that is that you once you have a basic idea about how to implement something, go and start applying for the interviews and fail fast. And this is which I mentioned earlier in this particular thing. You want to go deeper into learn and understand, which is covered this come to classroom. And in this 2 hours class I mentioned, maybe worth looking at this immediately after this class, that you go and watch this. So this is what I'm talking about, that you should be, when you're applying, Fail fast, which means you learn a particular thing, go and apply for the interviews, and see what companies are asking in the interview, and then prepare the hands-on labs and project that particular for that particular job, and keep repeating that and keep applying for the interviews, and then go to the interview, see what interviewer says and what all gaps are, and come back and study those particular part and keep repeating that. So that's a cycle you do on that. Once you get a job, which is guaranteed you will get a job if you follow what I'm talking about and what I'm saying, then you go and look back and say, now once you get a job, look back and say, what is the next path within that job next, and keep repeating that cycle every 3 to 4 months. And that's how done exactly. So you keep and go back to on the do another triage now, and then get a high paid job, and another triage, and go keep repeating, keep upgrading till the time you're happy. That's exactly what I've done from earning 400, 500, or starting with working. I was working on less than $100 to move to UK to £2,500 a month, to then earning probably under like probably around £10,000, so 15, 20, 25, £30,000, and keep upgrading that what I earn right now as well. So that's on a high level, that path you see. Now, if you look at the within this 3-step framework, step one is you're not going to do all of them. You're going to pick one or two of those things. You get a job, and you work on a hands-on lab related to job and project work, and you keep repeating as per the job description. With that, parallelly prepare a resume, and prepare. LinkedIn will always be complementing LinkedIn, whatever type of jobs you do, that will keep adding more and more on LinkedIn. But resume should be as per the job description. Keep changing that resume. When I say not fake it, make sure that you perform those hands-on lab as an employer is asking, and you can learn that very, very quickly. With everything that we have, you should be able to learn all these things very quickly. Once you do all this, then you go and come with an interview, mock interviews. We run on a weekly mock interviews, multiple mock calls, and you will have access to all the other mock calls that I'm happy to show it to you if anyone is interested to show on or want to do as well. So after that, you do multiple mock interviews, and then maybe you'll fail few interviews before you start get a hang of, and maybe by the time of seventh or eighth interview, you'll start getting interview, like clearing the interviews. That's how people have done, and just follow this process as well. So this is a high level 3-step framework. So step number one, hands-on based learning, project based learning. So this is what I mentioned. Then prepare an impressive resume and prepare LinkedIn profile. So what I mean by is make sure your resume is ATS compliant. We help you with all these resume. We give you sample resumes, what to write, what not to write based on the job description. We'll give you a complete review and overall clearance. Also, these are some of the feedbacks which we are going to do. I'm going to show you a little bit in the portal. How does that portal look like for you? So this is a screenshot of portal. We've reviewed everyone's resumes. How did that resume look like? You will learn a lot from others, and we also have recording of the previous mock interviews that you see. Also, this is a 13-point checklist. Out of those, the important point is I think the summary, headline and summary. These are two important things. Number 3, number 4, of course, number 5, and maybe if you can write. If you get the recommendations, we'll tell you how to get recommendations as well. But headline, summary, and experience are key important point. Will on that visibility. And then finally, practice mock interviews. Very, very important. Different scenarios based on the job description. I've given you some hint, but we go much deeper on. We give you the entire based on the job description, what questions you might ask. So scenario-based questions, technical questions, also star format that you do, situation-based questions, and so on. So there are a lot of things go into the interview preparation, mock interviews. What we'd also do is patch you with the interviewer equivalent to what you're appealing. So let's suppose you go for a mock interview. We'll tell you based on the job description. We bring you someone, match you, and identify someone for your level, and he'll go and come and do the mock interviews as well, which I'll explain you in a minute. I'll show you what I mean by that as well. And that is how you prepare resume, job, LinkedIn, everything that you need in order to get a job, searching for the right job as well. So with that, that's how you hired. I have tons and tons of guys and testimonials I've already shown, but I'm going to do is crack 2 companies interviews. Simran, get a job on data analyst. These are from his WhatsApp. You get a WhatsApp community access as well. And with that, you also get 1 year on job support. So that once you get a job, which you'll confidently do it if you follow, and then support on handholding is important. Handholding, you get a support as well, like this. Srinivas, managing a multi-dollar, like I think I'm managing a team of 30 members, $1 million project for a big engineering company. So this is the framework which we do. This is the path we start, as I said, January 15th, I think is booked. We'll be accepting the applications, new fresh applications, which is path. You have multiple tracks. You have AWS, and you'll get all of the tracks. You'll get an AWS track, DevOps track, Azure track, AI track, Oracle, data, Google, all the tracks, different tracks you do. You can join anyone, any batch, anytime, multiple batches, multiple sessions, and so on. So if you're interested to know more about, book a call with my team by going to kiranacademy.com/AI cloud call. Do it. There's an investment required. So make sure that you join only if you're ready to invest. This is not free, but we only have few slots because of holiday seasons. And so what you need to do is you go to this URL, kiranacademy.com/AI cloud call, and your name, email address, phone number. This is important. On LinkedIn profile, what positions, what kind of a jobs you're looking for, how do you feel, why you're not getting, write down as much as you can, or you want, the more you write, the better it is for us. So we can give you some feedback, your current salary as well as expected salary as well. And then how much you're ready to invest as well. So it's not going to be cheap. I want to be transparent with you. But one thing I want to guarantee you is that if you follow what I'm going to say, whatever I've done to you, what mistakes I've done, I'm happy. I'll be sharing some mistakes as what I've done so that you don't do those mistakes as well. And how to get job quickly. And if you're out of job, just let us know so we can give a path to you and say you can get a job quickly. Don't make a mistake of, I'll give you a couple of tips which I'll give you people make mistakes, which is they go and focus on a lot on certification. Don't do that, because you will not be able to clear the interviews if you just focus on the certification. And if someone has said to you that, oh, you're not getting interview calls because of certification, they are wrong. The reason you're not getting interview calls are because your job description, your resume is not aligned as per the job description, or your LinkedIn is not aligned. If these two things are there, you don't need, trust me, for my first 15, 16 years, I never had any certification. I started with certifications just because people were not taking me seriously when I started talking about this on first impression, because of first impression. And that too just wanted to show off that I've done the certifications. But in interviews until date, no one even cares about certification. What people care is on someone is hiring you, they care, if I hire Atul, will he be able to do a job on properly or not? Will he be able to handle my data and servers and things? So as long as you can give them the confidence, first impression will be your resume and LinkedIn, and then how you perform in the interview. Focus on those two things. Rest all becomes very simple and easy. People spend months and months of just going for basic certification or this certification. I'm not against certification. By all means, do that, but focus on these hands-on labs and projects which I mentioned. That's what will move the needle. That's what I've done for me, and that's what I've done for thousands of guys who've done it. So book this call and let me know. I'm going to be taking some questions, and we can and then let's see if So I'll be taking up the questions as well with my team. And okay, so guys, Subbu, unfortunately, you have to fill the form. So my team, okay, brilliant. So Deepthi, is there any questions I can take, or what time is right now? Or I'm happy to unmute. We are hitting close to 2 hours. Oh gosh, again, I wanted to have a Deepthi saying, I'm not from an IT background, not a programmer, job roles, Oracle DB, which paths? Okay, brilliant. Well done. Thanks. So those who are not from IT background, don't need to worry. I started with mechanical engineering background. So I started with no IT background. No, when I started, I had no IT background. Mechanical engineering, I transitioned into. So we'll give you the whole path from a not IT background to what you'll be doing. So let me show it to you on the portal. How we will be doing and what all things we'll be doing. So this is a classroom. So if you're someone who's not from an IT background, what you're going to do is you're going to come here and you're going to go and let me see. So first you're going to go and begin with cloud for beginners, absolute beginners. And this is where those who are not from IT background, you have to go and understand what are the cloud characteristics benefits, but you're going to look at IaaS, PaaS, SaaS model. What is these models and public private deployment model and basics. You should be able to do it in 1 or 2 days, this basic cloud understanding. Then you're going to do about is AWS for beginners. There's another one for AWS for beginners. This is what you're going to do. And once you're going to do, you will know enough about each of these services which I'm talking about, going deeper into, for example, S3, what these S3 buckets are. Once you have done these two things, you are going to then go to the job prep and you're going to start applying. And I know, hear me out, and people get freaked out and say, oh, but I have not done any hands-on lab. It's totally okay. You don't need to. So what I'm going to do is then I'm going to go and search for following following these videos, search for the job description and create a resume exactly what an employer is asking in the job description. And this is a tip you can take. Exactly what they're asking, prepare the resume and align my LinkedIn as well. So follow this. We have a step-by-step instructions how to prepare resume, even if you don't know those things, as long as you know the basic terminologies. Some of these things I've already covered, S3 and EC2s and so on, those things. And based on that, then you go and prepare. Uh, and then also refine your LinkedIn. Write down all those things on your LinkedIn as well, even if you've not done. But promise that on the next 1, 2, 3, 4 days, do the hands-on lab. So then once you've done this, you're going to go on to and perform the hands-on labs, which I'm going to explain you on how you're going to do that hands-on. So inside later, there's a hands-on labs and do those projects. So for example, the project is about uh, migrating Oracle database to AWS. Just take an example of that. So you're going to go and perform and do actually a migration of Oracle database from on-premise to cloud, and how you're going to do is you're going to create in one AWS account, you'll create a Oracle database and then migrate to Oracle to AWS Cloud. Do that implementation of that, and then go and prepare for the interviews. And what I mean by is come and interview is then go and do the mock interviews. So we have this is for resume reviews. This is how we do the resume reviews. But then we also have the mock interviews. Let me show it to the mock interviews. So this is all mock interviews, which is like YYMMDD. So these are the group mock interviews. You come and look at this role is for AWS Solution Architect. For example, this is AWS Solution Architect. You go and put your name forward and say, hey, I want to do for this mock interview. And then you come and see where the gaps are. Work on those gaps and keep repeating the same thing again and again. While parallelly on a weekly basis, you come and attend these batch sessions. So you see now, these are the batches you'll be running, multiple batches, multiple times. These are the calendar look like. You come and learn any of the times that you're comfortable with. So weekday, weekends, whatever you can. And if you can't, just watch the recording. There'll be recording available for all these things. And keep repeating the whole process week by week by week. And that's the mantra of success. That is how you're going to get a job as a beginner. I hope that makes sense. That's one question from a beginner's point of view. Okay. If you provide architecture level design and platform cloud, yes, we guide you on that. So Venkat is saying, do you provide architect level design and platform cloud? Yes, so we'll teach you how to design that as an architect level. So you bring the requirement and say, this is my requirement. We teach you how to design those implementations as well. And if anything like that happens, come and speak to, will help you. Okay, next is I'm not a programmer. So if you're not a programmer, there's in free community I've mentioned, there are tons and tons of jobs that doesn't require any programming coding. So let me show it to you. I think this is I've covered FAQ. Yeah, so this is like, for example, you come here and say, if you're not a programmer or a coder, what are the jobs? There are tons of jobs available, which is, I'm not from IT, I'm not from a coding background, till date, I don't know the coding. So what are the job related? So from AWS Cloud itself, the job available for which is out of job, which is, let me go back and share my screen. Yeah, so the job roles available, which is doesn't require coding or program, is administrator. Within DevOps, operations part of DevOps, then architect or data administrator, database administrator, and system administrator, Oracle, the cloud engineer, and all those roles doesn't require any programming or coding requirement. Now, another question was job role. For Oracle DBA, which path should be? So my suggestion to you would be, of course, you go and first understand this is exactly what I did. I was an Oracle Apps DBA, Apps DBA. I was working on Oracle eBusiness Suite, Oracle databases 10G, 11G, 12C. I worked till 19C databases. So I transitioned working with the cloud solution architect, and then data engineering. So you can do data engineering, data architect, or cloud architect. All of those parts depending on your experience. But cloud, and especially what you can do is you can go for Oracle databases migration to cloud itself. How long is the course? I think, as I said, this is not, I'm not doing a course. This is a mentorship program, and the objective is to get a job. Okay. Um, okay. That's Tushar. I think I've mentioned. Take up your question. Real-time project design from start to end. Yes, that's what we're going to cover. That Subarao. So you bring the questions, the design, the project. So like most of these projects that you see are actually started with individuals like you and say, hey, in my client, or some of those things which I've implemented in the past myself and presented there. Some are coming from end users like you and saying, oh, we are doing this implementation. How do we do? So we bring an architect who will design and explain you on that. But you need to bring those questions inside the program and tell, this is my architecture look like. How do I, or this is my requirement. How do I do? We help you with that project design and implement end to end. Yes. Can I get a remote job after completion? So Karan, as long as you have a visa, so yes, but as long as you have a visa problem, we don't solve the visa problem. So let's suppose you are getting a remote job, as long as you don't have any visa constraint, you do. So most of my jobs, because I'm a British citizen, and I can most of the places I can work remotely without any problems for at least for 3 months. So I get tons and tons of contract job, remote job. So I don't know, Karan, where are you based? But as long as you're entitled to work, there are plenty of remote jobs we cover inside the program as well. How to get those remote jobs? Absolutely. We've been doing that. A lot of guys are doing that. But make sure that you have a valid visa to work on that. Some jobs will tell you that you need a visa. For example, even though it's a US, and if you're based out of US, there are a lot of, and you're entitled to work in US, then you can get a remote job within US. Some jobs they don't even care about, and they outsource as well. You can do remote. So depending on, yes, absolutely. In Academy, all videos recordings are free. No, Abdul, this is a paid program. So if you on free community is free, there's a paid program is a separate. Okay. 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 Yes, I'm living in UK. I'm based in London. So yes, I've been moved here in UK in 2004, Himanta, and I'm settled. I want to move back. I want to live a life, but my daughter and son, as soon as they go to university, I'll move on. Hamid, fill this form, guys. Anyone who's looking for a fees, fill this form, and we'll be closing this now as well. Any other question? Anyone wants to unmute and do? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. Oh, by the way, sorry. So k2academy.com/AI cloud call. We'll be selecting only the handful of guys. Okay, and if not, we'll tell you what is the right thing for you based on. Okay. Okay, brilliant. Okay, let's go and move on. Okay, let me tell you now. So what we're going to do is that yet to come on day 2 and day 3, we're yet to come, which is talking about Azure, everything on Microsoft Azure Cloud, which is day 2. Everything that we've done on AWS Cloud, something similar on Azure Cloud. And so right from compute, networking, storage, all those things, to the certifications in Microsoft Azure Cloud, and some of the hands-on lab similar to what we've done in Microsoft, and the project work real-time projects. And then day 3 is going to be all about ML machine learning and DevOps, which is MLOps, Git, Jenkins, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes, Prometheus, Grafana, Helm, a learning path and hands-on as well. So these tools we are going to do as well. So go and check out. Make sure after this class, k2academy.com/free cloud. Before go, just let me know, was it, oh yeah, go on to this FAQ and under FAQ, this particular part. Also, if you want to go, no, I think this class 3 mistakes and these 2 things which you should be doing. Yeah. So as I said, by end of these 3 days, we are going to have full clarity on how to get a certified high-paying job. I've done first part, which is AWS Cloud, and if you follow, it might be sounding like a information overload. I can understand that when if I'm a beginner, if I look that, it'll sound like that, but trust me, it's going to fall in place, everything, if you follow what I'm asking you to do. We'll look forward for day 2, which is happening on Monday. Any questions, guys? Put it in the chat window, otherwise we'll close it now. Is the course feasible for Indians? Yes, of course, Karen. We have I think 40% of the guys are from 40%. There are a lot of yes, absolutely feasible for anyone who's looking for a good paying job. Okay. Patanjali is saying, I'm a senior program manager with 22 years of experience. I work closely with the DevOps teams and all the PM activities. I also completed my DevOps certification. Am I expected to have an in-depth knowledge of DevOps technologies? No, the basics should be sufficient. So if you're doing a senior program manager, DevOps, I think basics should be enough. You don't need to go hands-on, go deeper, Patanjali. So Sastri, I think what my suggestion to you would be add a little bit of AI ops or ML ops, just a high level. You don't need to go deeper into those things. No. If you're working as a project manager, but at least be able to talk in the language of interviewer. Those that's important. Okay, now with that, I think let's close it. Guys, give me, before we go, we have tons and tons of figures still here. Give me 1 to 5, what I can do to improve so that I do it on day 2, which is AWS. 1 to 5, 5, you're happy. And you got last 2 hours, we extended it, last 2 hours was value. And if not, anything below 5, just let me know what I could have done to make it 5-star next time, please. So K2 Academy, thank you very much. 5, you can give more than 5 as well, and you give 5 plus reward, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, but 5, yeah, but between 1 to 5. Thank you very much. Thanks, Karan, Lovina, Hemant, George, Jayad, Patanjali, Achla. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. How much is this training, please? Lovina, I think fill the form. Go back, watch the replay, and fill the form, please. The team will check. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Hemant. Thanks, Hemant. Then live demo. Roshan, let me know what demo you want. I'll give you some demos. Let me know. 5, if you could have a live demo, please. Yeah. Let me know what demo. Thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks, Chandu. Can you share the form? Hamid, okay, form. Let me go back to the form. Yeah, this is the form, k2academy.com/AI cloud call. Especially end-to-end for DevOps. Oh gosh, that's too much. Roshan. Okay. Okay. Let me see, Roshan. I might have to some video. Do that video. Okay. Exclusive. Will you? Yes. So we'll have a one session, Patanjali. We'll have on day 3, which is on 27th, between the holidays. We are going DevOps on day 3. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so day 3, DevOps end-to-end. I might record a video. I think we have an end-to-end demo. Okay, brilliant. With that, thank you very much, guys. I had so much fun. It's extended a little bit, so sorry for that. But thank you very much for all those 5-star ratings. Those who have not given, don't be greedy, guys. Okay, that inspired me to do more and more. But thank you very much. Take care. We'll see you on Monday, 21, 22nd, 23rd. What is it today? 22nd, 23rd. Yeah, 23rd. Okay. Take care, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. Stop share. How do we close it? My team can stop it.